This is your before and after story. Instead of imagining a rewarding career in medical imaging, Southeastern College can actually take you there. Prepare for a career in ultrasound, radiology, and X-ray technology with hands-on specialized training, simulations, and real-life experience with the latest imaging technology. You'll be ready to play a vital role on any healthcare team. Transform your life by helping others. Southeastern College. Your future is bright. Visit scc.edu to get started.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to our deep dive into, well, a topic many of us observe every single year, Father's Day. It's marked on calendars, but maybe we don't know the full, the really fascinating story behind it.
Absolutely. And we've dug into the sources you sent over a really insightful report covering the origins, the traditions, and importantly, the evolving meaning of this holiday. We've tried to pull out the key nuggets for you.
Right. So our mission today is exploring how this day actually came about, why its journey was so, well, different from Mother's Day, and how the whole idea of celebrating fatherhood is shifting today based on your material.
Yeah, it's a story with some unexpected twists. Let's just jump right in and explore the roots, the beginnings of this celebration.
Okay, so your sources show the concept really popped up in the early 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty directly inspired by Mother's Day getting established, right? It wasn't like totally separate.
Exactly. It kind of grew out of that. And the most widely recognized story, the one highlighted in your material, focuses on Sonora Smart Dodd. She was in Spokane, Washington.
Ah, yes. Sonora Smart Dodd.
So in 1909, she's listening to a Mother's Day sermon, and it hits her, fathers deserve recognition too, especially her own dad.
And her father, William Jackson Smart, he sounds like quite the figure, a Civil War veteran.
Yeah, and after his wife died, he raised 6 children, all by himself.
Wow, 6 kids.
So Dodd really admired that sacrifice, his strength, and she wanted a day to honor him. The first celebration she pulled together was right there in Spokane, June 19th, 1910.
And June 19th. That was significant.
She picked June because it was her father's birthday month. Made it personal.
Okay. But your sources also mentioned there was an earlier attempt, one that didn't quite catch on.
That's right, yeah. Back in Fairmont, West Virginia, July 5th, 1908.
Grace Golden Clayton. The report says she organized something after that awful mining disaster.
Exactly. A terrible accident killed 361 men, leaving so many children without fathers. It was a really moving, important event for that community.
But it was more of a one-off thing.
That's what the material says. A one-time commemoration, sadly. It didn't spark that annual tradition like Sonora Dodd's effort eventually did.
And this is where it gets interesting comparing it to Mother's Day. Because Father's Day, unlike Mother's Day, it faced, well, resistance. It took decades to become official.
A lot of resistance. And your sources suggest part of that was just the way society saw fathers back then. The stoic provider types.
Right, maybe seen as not needing or wanting a sentimental public celebration.
Kind of like that, yeah. And there was also some cynicism, people thinking it was just a commercial ploy trying to copy Mother's Day.
That makes sense. Public emotion, especially for men, wasn't quite the same then. So how did it finally get national recognition against that backdrop?
Well, despite that initial pushback, the idea didn't die. Grassroots efforts kept it going through the 1920s and beyond.
And your sources mentioned some big names, gave it a nod along the way. Like presidents.
Yeah, President Woodrow Wilson endorsed it back in 1916. Then President Calvin Coolidge supported it in 1924, even told states they should observe it.
But still, it wasn't quite the nationwide holiday we know today. Not yet.
No. And here's a fascinating bit from your material. During the Great Depression, guess who really started pushing it? Retailers and advertisers.
Ah, the commercial angle again.
Exactly. They saw how well Mother's Day did commercially and thought, well, let's promote Father's Day to sell ties, socks, tools, that kind of stuff.
So kind of unexpectedly, that commercial push actually helped keep the idea visible during really tough economic times.
It really did. And then World War II added another layer. Promoting Father's Day became a way to honor the troops overseas.
Right, connecting fatherhood with patriotism and national service.
Precisely, built on that idea. And then finally, after all those years of campaigning, the last step came in 1972.
With President Nixon.
Yep, President Richard Nixon signed the official proclamation. Made Father's Day a permanent national holiday, third Sunday in June. That's when it was truly locked in for the U.S.
So that third Sunday in June is familiar to many of us, U.S., Canada, UK, India. But your sources show it's not the same everywhere, right? There are lots of global variation.
Oh, definitely. It's really interesting how different cultures celebrate it. For example, down in Australia and New Zealand.
They do it later in the year?
First Sunday of September.
Okay. And then there are Catholic countries, Spain, Portugal, Italy. They link it to religion.
That's right. March 19th, St. Joseph's Day, honoring St. Joseph, Jesus' foster father.
And Germany has a particularly unique take mentioned in your sources, Vatertag.
Huh, yes. Vatertag, or Christi Himmelfahrt. Ascension Day, 40 days after Easter. And apparently it often involves men going on hiking trips.
Sometimes with wagons full of beer.
That's what the report says. Definitely a distinct tradition there.
Certainly sounds different from brunch and Thailand.
Thailand celebrates on December 5th. That's the birthday of the late King Bhumibol Adulyadej. And traditionally, people give can of flowers.
It's amazing how varied it is, but the core idea.
The core theme of gratitude, of honoring dads or father figures, that seems pretty consistent across the board, despite the dates and customs.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's fast forward to today. What does a modern Father's Day look like, according to your sources? A mix of old and new.
Pretty much. Family meals are still huge: brunch, barbecues, dinners, that's very central, and gifts, of course.
And so the ties and gadgets.
Those are still around, yeah. But your report notes a growing trend towards, experiences or personalized gifts. Think tickets to a game or something handmade or maybe a subscription box.
So the commercial side is still strong, but maybe shifting a bit.
Definitely still significant, yeah, partly because of that history we talked about. And then you have the classic cards, the personal notes.
All right, the heartfelt stuff, drawings from kids, poems maybe,
Yeah,
often the most treasured things.
exactly. And your sources also emphasize that for a lot of dads, just spending quality time together, fishing, watching sports, working on a hobby that's valued more than any, material thing.
That makes sense. Now, what about the digital age? Social media must play a role now.
Oh, absolutely. Your sources highlight that. It's become a big part of it. People sharing photos, messages, public tributes online to their fathers or father figures.
Including celebrities, right?
Yeah.
Your report mentioned someone like Hailey Bieber maybe posting about her dad, Stephen Baldwin, or potentially her husband, Justin Bieber, if he becomes a dad.
Right, using platforms like Instagram. And these public displays, they kind of personalize the holiday on a larger scale, but also amplify the whole message globally. It connects people through that shared feeling of appreciation.
Yeah, it really extends the celebration beyond just your immediate family.
Definitely does.
Now, we've kind of skirted around the comparisons with Mother's Day. Let's dive into that. Your sources frame it as, a tale of two holidays?
Yeah.
Highlighting some perceived differences.
Yeah, exactly. Mother's Day, as your report points out, got formalized earlier, and it often seems like it's embraced with maybe more overt enthusiasm.
Associated with flowers, fancy brunches.
Right. And its history is really tied to recognizing those nurturing roles pushed by figures like Anna Jarvis.
Whereas Father's Day historically has felt a bit more understated.
Yeah, more understated. Even though gifts are common, the overall feeling sometimes seems less openly emotional, or maybe less commercially saturated, although, as we know, commerce was key to its survival.
And your sources connect this difference back to those historical gender expectations.
They really do. That traditional image of the father as the stoic provider, maybe emotionally distant, that stereotype actively slowed down the holiday's acceptance for decades. It's such a contrast to how quickly a day honoring nurturing roles assigned to mothers, was embraced.
It really tells a story about how views on gender roles have changed over the last 100 years or so.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating insight.
But your sources also really stress that today's celebrations reflect a big shift, a broader recognition of the, multifaceted role fathers play now.
Definitely. That old view, the father as just the disciplinarian or the distant breadwinner, that's really evolving. Today, there's way more emphasis, more encouragement for dads to be emotionally present, right?
And actively involved in childcare, contributing around the house.
Exactly. Hands-on involvement. And your report mentions, studies actually back this up, there's a real link between fathers being actively involved and positive outcomes for kids.
Like doing better in school, better emotional regulation, stuff like that.
Yeah, better overall well-being. That active presence isn't just, nice to have, it's genuinely impactful.
And the whole idea of a father figure has broadened too, hasn't it? That's reflected now.
Very much so. It's not just about biological dads anymore. It includes stepfathers, grandfathers, uncles, mentors. Really any male figure providing that support and guidance.
So Father's Day today isn't just about the traditional provider role. It's appreciating all these diverse contributions, celebrating how families are changing. Your sources even call these figures unsung heroes.
Yeah, acknowledging that quiet strength, the guidance, the steady presence that might not always get the spotlight.
It's a recognition that fatherhood is complex, it's varied, and it's incredibly vital however it shows up in families and communities.
Precisely.
So we've traced this journey from Sonora Smart Dodd's idea in Spokane, through all that resistance, the unique commercial boosts, right up to this global celebration we see today.
And digging into the material you shared, it really hammers home that it's more than just, buying a gift or having a barbecue.
Right.
At its core, it's about acknowledging the love, the sacrifice, the guidance, all the things paternal figures provide, often quietly, day in and day out.
It's a day built on appreciating those who shape us, who build strong families, whether that's through the old roles or these newer, more active, emotionally engaged ways we see now.
Yeah. And looking at how fatherhood itself keeps evolving, keeps being redefined, it leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. As society keeps changing, embracing more diverse families and roles, how might the ways we actually celebrate Father's Day keep changing too? How will it reflect that growing emotional and active involvement of dads? What new traditions, what new ways of showing thanks might be just around the corner?